God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter, is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Findley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
But he does not in this episode.
He does not in this one. No. But if he catches anyone praying, God help you.
God help them. There was that.
My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by my fabulous co-host, the delectable Miss Toni Homeperm.
I really am fabulous, aren't I?
You are. You're fabulous, you're wonderful, you're enigmatic, and that's the only compliment you're ever getting for the rest of the episode. Okay?
Darn it.
Thank you. And welcome to the podcast, God'll Get You for That, Walter, where we discuss the 1970s hit sitcom Maude. And today we're, what is this?
Episode 34.
Episode 34.
They're flying by.
Look at us go. And we're discussing Season 2, Episode 10, Maude's Musical.
Maude's Musical.
When did it originally air?
November 13th, 1973.
That's right. And we have special
You weren't
guests.
even a thought
I
back
was not
then.
a thought. I wasn't even a thought. And you were still in diapers.
No, believe me, I was not. Unfortunately, no, I can't say that.
We have a few special guests. We have Joey Faye as Mousy.
Mousy. He was annoying.
I wasn't crazy about the character.
Mousy was annoying.
Mousy was a bit much. Do less. And we have Phil Leeds, the very famous character actor, who was in a number of...
So many things.
He's
that kind of character actor, like you see him and you know him, but you don't
instantly know him, but you don't know who he is or where he's from.
Exactly.
But we have
so
Phil Leeds as Mr. Fishman, and Brian Morrison in a very quiet Philip today. There was no speaking, no nothing.
No.
The episode was written by Haywood Woody Kling, directed by Hal Cooper, as well as, Bob Weisskopf and Norman Lear. And yeah, let's get into it.
And they opened right away with that, they're right into the...
Something familiar, something good night, something good night.
Doing a number.
Yeah, they start with a number, and there's it takes place in a high school auditorium, and they're just getting ready for this big musical show. And me and Toni were just talking before we hit the record button, how there were a number of sitcoms, and even today, that have done the musical episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where, you'll have the main characters all singing various songs and enjoying,
Yeah,
I mean,
like I said, you go look at really one of the very first sitcoms, I Love Lucy.
Yep.
And there was always that element of that they were doing sometimes they were doing production, sometimes it was at the Copacabana,
sometimes it was in the living room.
Sometimes Lucy just wanted to be in that show.
Wanted to be in that show.
Remember our Golden Girl Sophia was like, why couldn't she be in this show? She was
funnier than him.
She was funnier than him.
True.
She had a point.
She wasn't wrong. Sophia was not wrong.
Sophia is never wrong.
Thank you.
Remember that.
Thank you.
Remember that, pussycat.
I always remember that. So we find out that Maude is putting on a production that is a tribute to burlesque. Which, very racy for high school.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Although I will say this, there was actually talk of a school on Long Island that was going to do Chicago Junior. That exists. That's a real thing that exists. That is a real thing that exists. It is Chicago Junior, where it's Chicago, but it's a docile version of it. Although I don't know how you could make Chicago a docile musical, but if they could add whop to Kids Bop, they can do Chicago Junior.
I don't know if you remember, there was a movie. It came out, I think it was in late 70s.
Yeah.
It's called Bugsy Malone. And it's like the little kids, and they're gangsters.
Yeah, Jodie Foster was in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Jodie
I think
Foster
Scott Baio was in it.
Scott Baio, Jodie Foster. Because I remember Jodie Foster in that very Jean Harlow hairstyle with the fur coat. Yes.
Weird.
Very bizarre movie.
So take kids and
there was, I remember watching on YouTube, there was a high school that did Scarface.
Really?
I kid you not. You could find it on there. High school does
Lord.
Scarface.
Oh, Lord.
too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
I mean, I get that, high school productions, they probably get tired of doing, Once Upon a Mattress.
Birdie, Once Upon a Mattress, the Fantastics. Like, let's do Menopause the musical.
Right.
Let's do Nonsense.
Yes.
Let's do...
Urinetown.
Let's do Urinetown. Sure, why not? Oh my god! I remember. Oh my god! Because I used to work at Joann's, I would meet a lot of the costumers. And I would meet a lot of costumers who do the local high school productions. And there was one woman who would come in and would tell me the horror story of putting on Dreamgirls.
Oh.
And hearing, all of the. There was one parent who wanted to not a parent, but I think it was a director. Or, no, it wasn't a director, it was a parent who was so complimentary. But instead of saying, ooh, the costumes for Step Into the Bad Side were so great, but she didn't say bad.
Oh.
No, she said Step Into the Black Side.
Oh.
So it's, it's very interesting how it's so interesting. So very interesting. So the episode opens with, the girls, these random women just singing this song
singing around the piano.
And Maude is being this sort of stage manager / producer / director / actor / singer. Just everything. Like Maude is wearing all the hats tonight.
And that very much in character for Maude. There's
no
way Maude would not be,
Maude is a
control freak.
Maude's a bit of a control freak. We can admit that on this show. So at that point, she's calling out to Carol and Walter to come out. It's their cue to do, their number, which is You Can Meet Me Around the Corner in a Half an Hour, which has, Carol in this very skimpy bra and harem pants situation, and Walter is in this like zoot suit with the bowler hat.
Very vaudeville burlesque.
Vaudeville and
kind of
burlesque
outfit. Yeah.
And he's like, wow, wee, wow, this must be the place. And he goes, they call me Cuddles.
They call him Cuddles.
Carol has on this very saccharinely sweet voice, like, I know about you. I've heard about your love making. And Walter goes, it's nothing. And she goes, that's what I heard. And very, very shticky.
Yes, very shticky. That was vaudeville. That was burlesque.
Yeah. And, I cannot recommend enough how joyful burlesque makes me. Because I'm friends with a number of burlesque performers. And, it's not stripping. It's stripping.
Something wrong with stripping?
It's stripping with style. It's stripping with style.
You got something against stripping?
So
Miss Mazeppa.
Miss Mazeppa. Oh,
yes.
That voice.
Oh, God.
A woman that could shatter glass.
I know.
Voice that could shatter glass.
Reminds me of a drag queen I know. Who shall remain nameless.
Who shall remain nameless.
Remain nameless. But she has found her face.
Good for her. So proud of her.
So, here, you're watching it and you're saying, well, Maude is seeing her daughter like
being very sexual with her husband.
And you'd think like she would be like, offended or taken aback, but hell no, she's like,
she has a great body inherited from her mother.
Exactly, but she's like, no, but she's calling them out. She's like saying, Carol, you need to put more pizzazz in it.
I mean, this is burlesque, not the Waltons. This
Exactly.
is a tribute to burlesque, not the Waltons.
Yes, and come to think of it, with Maude talking about the Waltons, there's a lot of TV references in this episode, which was funny.
Lots of TV references.
Lots of TV references. But so Maude has to show her how to give it more pizzazz.
How to give it more pizzazz.
And she does.
And she does.
She does.
And she does the same thing, because with the You Can Meet Me Around the Corner in half an hour, Carol is like dancing very seductively, and then she thrusts.
Yeah.
Thrusts her hips, causing Walter to like
thrusting and
to like jettison back and have his hat roll off his head.
Right.
And then Mousy catches the hat.
Yes.
And then, Maude comes in and Maude does the same thing. She's like, you can meet me round the corner in half an hour. And then does things with her hips and her body.
Yes.
And Walter ends up saying something to the effect of, if you do that one more time, I'll meet you in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yes.
And then at that point, that's where Arthur comes in.
And Arthur is offended.
Arthur's playing the censorship police in this episode because, of course, he is.
Arthur has to be the douche.
Arthur plays the foil. Mm-hmm. So he does the same thing. It's like, this is permissive. This is hardcore pornography.
Yeah.
He does his own dance. You can meet me around the corner in half an hour. And Walter says, our date's off. What I'm gonna meet him.
Yeah, right.
And it's just, very, just a lot.
Yes.
The episode is very haphazard because you have musical numbers interspersed with a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
And in that, one of the beautiful things about Maude is that in the dialogue, there's just so much juice to unpack.
Yes. A lot of political references.
Lots of political references.
And social references and... It's a lot, and it's like at a rapid fire pace.
Very much at a rapid fire pace.
We literally had to stop.
We had to stop it at least 2 or 3 times to catch the references.
And go back and to listen to what exactly was being said.
So Arthur is suggesting, they do Neil Simon or Shakespeare, and Maude turns to him and goes, Shakespeare. Last year we did As You Like It. There was how many people on stage?
There was 44 people.
44 people on stage. 11 people in the audience.
Yeah, which yeah, I mean...
Shakespeare, those are ensemble productions. Yeah. They are large.
Yeah.
I remember doing children's theater, doing community theater, doing anything involving that type of theater. You need to have a limited cast because, 1, you might not be able to afford the cast you want.
Yeah.
And 2, you want there to be more people on stage than you want people to be more people in the audience than on stage.
And with Shakespeare, it's not that easy.
Not that easy at all.
I
remember I did a production of Mary Poppins, and it was a production of I think 30 kids.
Wow.
There were anywhere between 27 to 30 kids. That's a lot of kids on stage.
Yeah.
Step in Time, that was a full production. Yeah. Every single character was on stage doing Step in Time. And it's just, there's ensemble productions and then there's Shakespeare. And Shakespeare is just a lot of people, unless you have clowns. Unless you have clowns that will play more than one part. And you can remember, I'm going to tell you a story.
Tell me a story.
I will tell you a story. There was someone that we're both familiar with who wanted to do a production of Rocky Horror.
Yes.
And she only wanted to have 4 performers.
Yes.
So I'm like, you technically can't do
you just can't.
Rocky Horror with 4 characters.
Yeah.
You need at least 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And even in that 6 or 7, you can have maybe one person play 2 roles.
Right.
Or maybe 2 people play 2 people play 2 different roles. Just, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
So, there's only so much pull that can be had when it comes to community theater.
True. Very true.
So the episode continues, and Maude tells Carol and Walter that they need to do the Alina number. So they start playing this very Indian-infused music, and they're doing Lena is the Queen of Palestina. And again, you see, and one of the things that I kind of sort of is a little cringy to me in a way, but again, it was the 70s.
It was the 70s, yeah.
Was they would do these, Asian-inspired, Indian-inspired, Chinese-inspired, Korean-inspired characters. I remember there was one where they did Carmen Miranda, and it was Carol playing those sort of parts. And I'm like, wouldn't it have just been easier to hire out an actor to do those parts? But then again, they needed to keep it within the cast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they did that. They did that. We had to accept it.
Yeah. We're just reviewing it.
We are a 2021 audience watching a 50-year-old show. So
yeah,
that's how we have to look at it, unfortunately. Yeah. So Walter is singing just because she plays the concertina. Sometimes she plays it wrong, and Arthur turns to Maude and goes, "This is indecent because Carol's gyrating and moving her body and." He calls it indecent, and Maude says, "No, Carol's fine. It's Walter singing that's indecent." So at that point, they finish the musical number. There's applause. And then we have like a head-to-head showdown between Arthur and Maude.
About Arthur's number.
Doing the Siegfried line.
Yeah.
We come to find out that Arthur blackmailed Maude into using the auditorium.
Yes, she was not getting to use the auditorium for this fundraiser. And now it's a fundraiser. They're raising money for the library. And he was not going to let her use it unless she allowed him to do this World War II song. And that's when they go into this whole thing with Mousy about whether or not there were war songs in burlesque.
Correct.
Because Mousy, I guess, is the expert on burlesque.
Mousy's the expert on burlesque. Played with every top banana.
Yeah, yes. Every top banana. I don't know how he's the expert, but he is. He is. And I don't know if I'm missing anything, but at some point now, Florida came out in the French maid's outfit.
Yes, but that was before. So Mousy says, "Oh, anything for you, Toots," and smacks Maude on the bottom.
Yes, he smacked her on the
and Maude turns to Mousy and goes, "Mousy, don't play with that. It's not a banana."
Yes, not a banana. Yes, that's when
Florida comes out wearing this adorable French maid outfit. Yes. And Arthur's like, "You've got to be kidding me. What is Florida doing out here?" And I think he says, "You have Florida in this?" And Florida goes, "Oui, boss."
Yes.
And I just in those moments, I just want to hug Esther Roll. And, Arthur, in his infinite wisdom, says, if you want to get so pernickety, there were no black performers in burlesque.
Yes.
So Maude says, I didn't think of Florida's color. I thought of her as any other actor in burlesque.
Just another performer.
To which Florida says, how come I'm the
maid? Exactly. So she wasn't typecast, then why was she the maid?
I love it.
I think it's about at that point that Arthur starts doing his song.
Even before that,
what did I miss?
I'm trying to remember what. That's right. Well, how come I'm the maid? And then Florida walks off stage. And then at that point, Arthur goes into the Siegfried line. And like he says, get my helmet and gun.
Yes.
And, our mother's like, what are you getting a helmet and gun for?
Yeah.
Like, there was no war songs in burlesque. So,
the funniest thing is when he's doing the song.
Maude puts a pistol in her mouth.
She puts a pistol in her mouth like she wants to kill herself. That's something that we would not see.
We would not see that in today's world. That would not fly.
No.
But I mean, again, it's part of the cartoonishness of the show.
Yes.
Like I feel like honestly, watching the musical episodes, it always felt like the cast was having so much fun.
Yes.
Just having so much fun bouncing off of each other and playing off of each other. And like, especially when they did the school mom in the classroom bit, they were just having so much fun.
Yeah.
And you could see it, you can tell.
Yeah, I get the feeling that it was sort of like a relief to them in a way to sort of have like an episode where they could just like let loose, especially for like Bill Macy. I mean, being like we've discussed it before, like, he was, original cast member of Old Calcutta. Yeah. And, and also, both him and B. Arthur.
They're both, even Adrienne Barbeau. Adrienne Barbeau was in the original cast of Grease. She played Betty Rizzo. So they're all honestly stage performers.
Right.
Adrian, B, Conrad, Rue. They've all been on stage in one form or the other, and it's absolutely hysterical. Not to take away from the show, but when you watch Golden Girls and you see 3 stage actresses, and then you have Betty White, who was a television actress for years. Yeah. Just to see that dynamic in action. And that was one of the reasons why her and Betty just didn't get along.
Right.
Potpourri for you kids. You have these stage performers enjoying this stage show, doing this musical, and just having a gay old time.
So Arthur is doing this song to Mother.
Mother, dear mother, as the shells fall near, I wish you were here.
Wish you were here.
Wrong, Carol. It got worse.
Yeah.
Because Carol comes out and she goes, it can't get that way. It can't get much worse.
Yeah.
So he finishes the Siegfried line to applause. And Maude at that point, she turns to Arthur and she goes, "I loved it. I really, truly loved it." But, I think it needs something a little bit more. Like a firing squad. Get off the stage. So she kicks him off the stage, and then, Carol runs over to Maude and is comforting her and saying, Carol's like, "Why don't you just run over your number?" And Maude says, "I'd rather run over Arthur." So at that point, the piano starts playing, and he plays. Maude sings her infamous... No.
You skipped something. No.
Did I?
Yes. Before that, Maude has Vivian and Carol do their two games number.
Right. The hold the car bit. I'm so sorry. I'm jumping the gun way ahead.
You jumped way ahead. Before we get to the Maude's number.
Yeah.
It's Vivian and Carol and Walter and Arthur's number.
Doing the hold the car sketch.
The hold the car sketch. Yes.
So Vivian is in this very tight black dress with black stockings and this.
Yes.
I think white. Feathered boa, and Carol's in, her pants and her very showy top.
Yeah, very like burlesque flapper type of look.
Yeah, and she still has Carol has her natural hair, and she has this turquoise blue.
Vivian's got some crazy blonde wig.
Yeah, what a nutty blonde wig that was.
Yeah, I'm sure my husband could restyle that.
It needed some love.
Yes,
it needed some serious love.
Oh, so
they they do the hold the car sketch, which. It's two girls playing like these streetwalkers, and you have the two straight men playing off of them.
Yes, Walter and Arthur are in this this silhouette car type of thing that they're like in the peering out through the window at the two girls, and I think Arthur gets really annoyed again.
Because he's seeing Vivian, who is at this point now his girlfriend.
Yes.
Behaving in a very sexy, sexual manner.
And Arthur is saying that this is just plain smut. I know I wrote that down.
Just plain smut.
And that's when
he says that was a grind. Like, Vivian, you're doing that sexy hip wiggle.
Yes.
Like you're doing a grind.
Yes.
And Maude says, Arthur, trying to be sexy with you is always a grind.
Yes. And that's when Arthur and Maude start getting into it again, and Arthur is calling out how
poppycock,
but also about how sort of the moral degradation of society. How even on the Mary Tyler Moore show,
Mary Tyler Moore goes, so goes America.
Yes, because Mary went out on a date and she stayed out all night.
She stayed out all night.
The implication being that Mary Tyler Moore had sex.
Yeah. Our little Mary. Our little Mary was out for the night.
Yes.
And then he mentioned Marcus Welby.
Yeah. Yes. Because.
But go ahead. No. You want to mention something about Mary Tyler Moore?
Well, look at it. Mary Tyler Moore. She was a grown adult single woman living on her own. She's a career woman. I mean, what is so outlandish about the idea that she would have a normal?
She wants to step out of her. She wants to step out and be herself. She wants to feel her oats. Let her feel her oats.
I mean, she was a grown woman. Why wouldn't she not? If she's involved in somebody, of course she would be having sex with them.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like she was this young ingenue or something.
No.
She was a grown woman.
She was a grown woman in charge of her own sexuality, which was very of the time.
Yeah.
Because women's liberation.
Of course.
And there was actually an episode of Maude that we'll get to later on down the line, where Vivian and Arthur are sort of in the throngs of an argument, and Vivian gets very amorous, and she wants to initiate whoopee with Arthur, and Arthur is completely and totally taken aback because it's man's responsibility to engage in intercourse.
Yes.
So you know,
I fully support that.
I fully support women's liberation.
So no, I mean I expect a man to initiate intercourse.
It's funny.
In my relationships, it's always been the man who initiates the intercourse.
And welcome to the last episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter.
So now speaking of homosexuals,
yes, Marcus Welby.
Yes, Arthur brings up Marcus Welby,
Mary Tyler Moore went out with Marcus Welby?
That Marcus Welby treated a homosexual.
Really? To what?
And Arthur doesn't mind if a doctor treats a homosexual in
just
the privacy
not in the privacy of his own practice.
But not on Arthur's television.
On Arthur's television.
It shouldn't be treated.
Heaven preserve
homosexuals.
Heaven preserve. Again, Arthur just asserting the fact that he is quite literally a douche.
A douche. So he brings it back to the sketch. He's comparing it to pornography.
He calls it hardcore pornography.
Yes.
And says, I'm going to talk to Mr. Fishman to see how he likes hardcore pornography on his stage.
Yes. I'm going to talk to Mr. Fishman, and he's going to let you have it.
He's going to let you have it.
Yes. That's when Carol
comes out and calms down her mother
and tells her to
says to run over her number, and Maude goes, I'd rather run over Arthur.
Yes.
And the piano begins, and Maude begins to sing Hard-Hearted Hannah.
Yes.
Now this was the first instance.
First time you ever heard it?
First time I ever heard. No. Idiot. The first time I ever heard her sing Hard-Hearted Hannah was on Golden Girls. Mm-hmm. Same thing with What'll I Do. Mm-hmm. But, when I first started watching the Golden Girls, that was my first introduction to B. Arthur. And I'm like, well, I mean, I do consider myself the B of my friend groups. I'm always the logical one, the headstrong one, the sarcastic one. And
the tall one.
How did we forget the tall one? But yeah, it wasn't until Maude where I was like, wow, look at this. And then, of course, as I opened up Pandora's box, I started finding out that Maude was in Mame, and then Maude was in Fiddler on the Roof, and the Shoestring Review, and Three Penny Opera, and how she was this really classically trained stage actress. And, it's funny. Again, I will mention Broadway dames. I think that Elaine Stritch and B went to the same school. Mm-hmm. I think they both went to the same school out in Sable, Long Island. I think it was Erwin Piscator's new school. Mm-hmm. I think it was Erwin Piscator's new school maybe it was. I know that it was Erwin Piscator's stage school for young actors or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And it had people like Marlon Brando, Tony Curtis, Walter Matthau, I can't even think of other actors, but, B. Arthur also worked with these young performers when she would go out to see these shows. She'd see Tony Bennett, Lena Horne, Mabel Mercer. So it's always very interesting to hear these stories from these older Broadway actors and actresses. Yeah. So, yes.
So we're treated to
Hard-Hearted Hannah.
And that's just she just does the whole song.
Does the whole song.
There's nothing else except for her just performing.
And, she's chewing up the scenery. She's walking around. And she's in this beautiful dark blue turtleneck with these dark blue bell bottoms and this sort of like powdery blue, sky blue long jacket. Mm-hmm. Like, Just give me B. Arthur's wardrobe. That's all I'm asking. That's all I want.
I thought you had B. Arthur's
wardrobe. Working diligently on having B. Arthur's wardrobe.
Okay. All right. So then Arthur comes back and he says the principal is coming, and I have him suggesting that they should be doing Mary Poppins instead of
Mary
burlesque.
Poppins. Isn't that musical with that word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Yes. Do you want to know? Mm-hmm. I have a long-standing history with Mary Poppins.
You do?
I do.
All right. Here it comes.
I mean, of course, I love Julie Andrews.
Of course.
And when I first heard supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and I heard her say, you can say it backwards, which is dociasalliexpiasticfragicalirupus. I remember looking at that when I was younger, and I'm like, that's not what that is backwards. Mm. And it wasn't until I did the Mary Poppins Jr. version, where they actually use the reverse version of that word. And I believe it's Swokudlai Sixit Siligaphilocrepus. And I remember teaching it to the girl who was Mary Poppins. And she just held my hand and she goes, "You're an icon." I know.
True.
I know. I am an icon.
It's funny that he brings up Mary Poppins because Dick Van Dyke was in that.
In that as well.
And, Mary Tyler Moore was on the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
So they're tying everything together.
And then Dick Van Dyke was also in an episode of The Golden Girls.
Yes.
When he played
the clown.
When he played the clown.
The clown lawyer.
The name escapes.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yes.
The name escapes.
Yes. He's...
We're all
Dorothy
connected.
ruined him. But
Dorothy ruined him.
Yes.
Don't blow it.
Yes. Don't blow it, pussycat.
So, hard-hearted Hannah finishes. Maude turns to Arthur and goes, don't you know that word, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, don't you know that you've just said 9 4-letter words?
Pardon me. And I think that's where the commercial break was.
Yes, that's where the commercial break is. Because Arthur was like counting the words in his head. And we come back to Maude in what an outfit.
Yes.
It is this long school marmish type outfit, and she has an even bigger chest.
I mean, that was like what, an H cup?
Had to have been.
I don't know.
Had to have been, but literally it came up to her neck.
To chins.
And she puts on this very school marmish, but which of you would like to spell Mississippi? Johnny? Spell Mississippi. You want the river or the state? And she hits them with this pillow, this pillow bat, this pillow hitter. Yes. There's a specific name for them because they used it in, do you remember the sketch, Slowly I Turn, Step by Step? Yeah, Martha.
Yes.
That is the type of item that they use.
It's like one of those clown, a lot of times clowns use
clown batons.
Yeah.
Clown batons.
It's sort of like a little sack with something soft in it
to like hit
whack somebody on the head, but it doesn't really hurt. Violence without violence.
Violence without violence. So, it's this really kitschy, sketchy, not sketchy.
It's a very baudy, burlesque type of sketch where the adults are playing like kids in a classroom type of thing. Like the men are all dressed as if they were like little boys in shorts, and the women have like those
pigtails
and the short dresses.
Yeah.
And,
So they go. I'm trying to remember what it is explicitly. Just
Maude, as the teacher, she's saying that she has to leave the room, and she doesn't want any spitballs.
There is to be no spitball throwing, no hair pulling, and above all, no prayers.
No praying.
If I catch anyone praying, God help you.
That's where we got. Yeah,
that's where God got you.
God getting somebody.
So she goes out to leave, and then
Walter, and
Vivian and Walter have this sort of moment where Vivian goes.
It's a bit.
Yeah, where she goes. You know what makes me so popular with the boys? Mm-hmm. Oh no, Walter asks Vivian what makes you so popular with the boys. And she goes, is it my charming smile, my personality, my brains? No. I give up.
That's it.
That's the one. And then they kiss, and then Maude comes back and starts beating the heck out of all of them with this pillow baton.
That sock.
And then she says, it is time I put a stop to necking. Yeah. And Carol goes, it's about time a dame your age. But also, I want to point out, the camera zoomed in on Walter for a moment. Not zoomed in, but panned to Walter. And Walter was making a gookie.
Well, what was he doing?
A gookie.
I don't remember. What was that?
So, because I used to watch Animaniacs, and I love Animaniacs to bits and pieces, there was a song that they did called Make a Gookie. And what a gookie is, you bite your tongue, and then you puff up your cheeks and go cross-eyed. So.
Oh, okay. I forget. I don't remember. I don't remember seeing him do that.
Harpo Marx used to do that all the time.
Yes.
Like he would hold his leg and
he
would hold the person's leg and do that. That's what a gookie is.
Okay. I wonder why.
I have no idea.
Alright, so Carol, Maude says it's time for a music lesson.
Fifi dear, she called Florida Fifi.
Yes.
Fifi dear, it's time for a music lesson. And they start getting out of their school marmish clothes and into their matching outfits. And then I think Florida goes, Mrs. Finley, do we really have to do this? Yeah. And Florida goes, oh, come on, Florida. Alfred Hitchcock's going to be in the audience, and he might be looking for somebody. And Florida goes, why? He need a maid? And they start performing
Me and My Shadow.
Yup.
Yep.
How did you think about that? What'd you think about that?
I was like, well, I did appreciate the fact that Maude wanted to turn it on its head. That Maude
was the shadow.
The shadow, not Florida.
It's also important to know that shadow is a very, very old derogatory term for a black person. Mm-hmm. That was another one of the reasons why, like, I remember viewing it and I'm like, this is horrific. Yeah. This is awful. Yeah. Why am I watching this? But yes, that was a very derogatory.
And it was funny though that Florida wanted to be the shadow.
Florida wanted to be the shadow. She says the shadow because Maude's like, I wanted this to be a show where there was no color. Right. There was nothing like this. And she goes, well, if you don't, Florida goes to Maude, well, if you don't mind, I'll be the shadow.
Yeah, if there's like no, if we're not like, paying attention to color, then why can't I be the shadow?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter like what the color is. But...
at that point, Maude, in her infinite white savior wisdom, stops the song, stops the show, and turns to Florida, and they have a little bit of dialogue where Maude asks, "Well, really, with the lights in the audience, who can really tell the difference?" Right. And Florida, in a very minstrel show type way, goes, the shadow do. Yeah. And again, very cringy, but very, very of the time. Yeah, yeah. And it's unfortunate. There's one performer who comes to mind when I think of minstrel shows and blackface. And that was Sophie Tucker. Sophie Tucker was, she calls herself the last of the Red Hot Mamas. And, she was told in the beginning of her career that if she wanted to be famous, if she wanted to be popular with people, she would do blackface. And she refused. Oh. She absolutely refused to do it. And, she's still she's not exactly as well known as I would like for her to be because, she was very popular in the 20s and 30s. Like, she basically trained Mae West to be Mae West. And she also, took Judy Garland under her wing. But, in terms of performers, there were choices to be made. Right. And another actress that comes to mind is Lucille Laverne, who was the voice of the Evil Queen in Snow White. Oh. She was the voice of the Evil Queen and the Old Hag. And she was very popular for doing blackface. Yes, towards the end of her career, she had Disney do what it did with her. And then she also had, I don't know if it was A Tale of Two Cities or something. No. What's that play with the Everglots? Why can't Everglots? Not ringing a bell? No. Not ringing a bell? Not ringing a bell. I'm trying to remember the movie that she was in where she played another character that was like, again, sort of like the Old Hag in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But yeah, that was just the thing to do years ago. You would play these sorts of characters and it was part of that era. Yeah. It was part of that era to, don the grease paint and just perform as, what was that, Vaughn Monroe?
Who's that?
Racing with the Moon.
Not ringing a bell.
Not ringing a bell?
Not ringing a bell.
I'm older than you, I guess.
Your soul is.
Well, yes. But no, Vaughn Monroe, I think, was another one who did the mammy bit. Because I'm just trying to think of like other actors that did blackface years ago. And of course, it's important to note that blackface in today's society is completely and totally frowned upon. We do not recommend you do it.
No. There's been a few instances. Recently, I remember there was something about a drag king who did blackface not too long ago. Yeah, I remember reading about it on social media and stuff.
In the cosplay community, there are cosplayers overseas that will do blackface. There are Russian cosplayers and Italian cosplayers, and they will darken their complexion. And there are a lot of American cosplayers that will say, that's wrong. That's wrong to do that. And the excuse that these...
I think this incident was here in the U.S. I don't think this was overseas.
Interesting.
Yeah. And,
We'll have to... Well, hold please.
I don't know.
Let's check the interwebs.
I don't know where we would find it, but, it was a... They were called out for doing it, and... they said it was something that they had done like sometime in the past or something, and and that it was just found. It's one.
The video has surfaced of a drag king performing in blackface in Hawaii.
Yes.
The special guest male impersonator was Maude, the king of Memphis. But the audience is not having it when Maude appeared on stage in full blackface.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, see?
Yeah, that is a minstrel show right there, and absolutely. That is very cringeworthy.
Yeah, unbelievable. I also love the show Are You Being Served?
Yes.
There was a few times where they actually did blackface on the show, and I know you can still see the episodes like on BritBox.
Yeah.
But I believe in England, in the UK, I think you can't. I don't think you can find them.
Well, that does make sense because there are some people out there, and in the cosplay community, there are people overseas, like in Russia and the UK and Italy, like in Europe and all of those areas, that will sometimes darken their complexion, and they will sometimes make the excuse, well, we don't have the same history the Americas do. We don't have the same history the United States does, so why are we held to the United States standards?
Right.
And no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
It's just a bad look.
It's just a bad look.
It's just a bad look all around.
It's just a bad look. And then I remember the episode of Designing Women with Suzanne.
Oh yeah,
she donning blackface to be Diana Ross.
Yes. Well, she wasn't thinking of it as blackface. She was thinking that she was trying to make herself, because there's blackface that's like blackface with like they literally blacken the skin and they put these overly exaggerated white lips. And then there's also the other form of blackface where you're just making yourself look like you are a different ethnicity. Still blackface.
Yeah.
But it's all a form of blackface.
Yes.
Suzanne didn't want to do the kind of thing where she was making herself look like
she didn't. She did not want to look like a Manny character. She did not want to look like that type of caricature. That would be. So yes, we wouldn't have. It would have been even more offensive had she done that.
Absolutely. I mean, it was still offensive.
It was still offensive, regardless.
And they called it out as being offensive in the show.
Yes, they did.
So they did know what they were doing.
Correct.
Even though they were trying to make a point that even though Suzanne was doing this and they wanted to call out that doing that was wrong.
Yeah.
So, but there you have it.
Moving gaily forward.
Moving forward from the blackface.
Because that is a conversation in and of itself. And believe me, this episode's about to get a lot more political.
Yes. So then, after the shadow number...
So after they do the shadow number, Arthur comes back, and, Maude calls him a think.
Yes.
So they go and talk to Mr. Fishman.
They go to talk to Mr. Fishman. They're having it out. They're having a
full-blown
showdown argument.
And Mr. Fishman tries interrupting them, and Maude goes, butt out, Fishman.
Yes. And I have something. Doesn't Arthur say that oh no, Maude says something about
censorship. Who gives you the right to make the decision about what is and isn't immoral?
But also she says, what do you think that after the audience sees the show, they're gonna have an orgy?
They're gonna get so stimulated that they go out into the lobby and have an orgy.
Yes.
And Mr. Fishman goes, oh, I hope not. The lobby is so small. The lobby is so tiny. So at that point, Maude calls out Arthur, what gives you the right to determine what is and isn't immoral?
Nixon Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
He's pulling out the big guns.
Yep. So he says that the Nixon Supreme Court voted 5-4 to put a stop to permissiveness.
No, 5-3. And
Maude says 5-4, Arthur.
She corrects him. It's 5-4.
And, Arthur goes, Douglas's votes don't count. William O. Douglas was a member of the Democrat. He was a Democrat who was nominated to the court, who was, very learned, very educated person.
This is where we kept stopping.
This is where we had to keep stopping because the audio was a little finicky.
Yes, and also, they're talking and the audience was laughing a lot.
Yes.
So it was hard to hear. But Arthur pointed out that Willow Douglas didn't count because he climbs mountains.
And he asks, name another mountain climber who had a thought in his head. And Maude says...
it was Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad.
Yep. And Arthur comes
in
back
that order.
Yes, in that order. Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad.
Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad.
And Arthur turns and says, "See, you can only name 3."
You can only name 3.
So then at that point, Maude finally relents and she says, "All right."
No, she's still arguing. She's saying to Mr. Fishman, she's like, any blue nose can put a stop.
Right. Any blue nose can put a stop to something they perceive as permissive.
Right.
And Arthur goes, "Are you calling me a blue nose?" And Maude says, "If the handkerchief fits, blow."
So here's where Maude gets creative.
Yep.
And she's basically, all right, Arthur, you win. There'll be no show.
All right.
No grease paint.
Too bad.
No
Arthur. No after dinner party at the Ramada Inn. No Arthur Harmon singing the Siegfried line.
Right. Yes.
Just going on and on about what is not going to happen. Yes. And Arthur's like, wait, no Arthur Harmon singing the Siegfried line. And Maude puts on the act, puts on airs.
Arthur, honey.
Arthur, darling.
No, it was Arthur, honey.
Oh, it was Arthur, honey?
It was Arthur, honey.
Oh, thank goodness you remembered that.
Arthur, honey. I wrote it down.
Good for you.
You know when she puts that voice onto Arthur. Arthur, honey.
It's in our natures to quarrel. I wouldn't turn away you singing the Siegfried line.
She's like, God forgive me. It's a showstopper.
May God forgive me for this. It's a showstopper.
Yes, that's right. She turns to Mr.
Fishman and says, God forgive
me for this. It's a showstopper.
So
the show. Arthur says the show must go on,
and he says, "I'm going to go to the little boy's room and get into costume."
And
Mr. Fishman turns to Maude and says, "Oh well, I hope he doesn't get mugged."
Yes, because Fishman was saying how he
can't even go to the boys' room without getting mugged because he has a hard time disciplining the little boys.
Yes, and Arthur threatened him with he would have to go back to teaching the boys' glee club.
Yeah, teaching the boys' glee club
if he didn't cancel the show originally.
I mean, I would never expect Glee Club kids to be mean.
No, I mean I would figure that's where all the
that's where all the gay kids were.
The gay kids were, right?
Stereotypes aside, but you would imagine that Glee Club would be the more creative, artistic youth.
Yes, and that's how it was in my school.
So
I don't know about yours.
No, there were a lot. There were a few. I remember in junior high school there were kids that took chorus to avoid taking art.
Oh.
So they, it was almost like a how do I say this? It was almost like a popularity crew. Because you would have in chorus you would have all walks of life. You would have all different types of people. You would have athletes, you would have cheerleaders, you would have, your theater kids, you would have your stage crew kids, and they would all sort of commune in the theater room. True. And, there were those that didn't, partake of the chorus, but I was never in the chorus.
I was in middle school. I was in the chorus.
That was a line from Mame.
Oh.
that was Vera Charles. I was never in the chorus.
But I was in chorus in middle school.
Yeah.
But then when I was because the school system I was in, it was like I think it was 6th and 7th was middle, and then it was a 4-year high school. 8, 9, 10. No, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
So 7th and 8th was the middle.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to go to
high school, I wanted to be in chorus, but they wanted to put me into the honors program, and you didn't get much choice of what courses you picked. Yeah.
Because it was sort of a set program, and it was like you couldn't do chorus because there was I don't know, trigonometry or algebra or something. I mean, looking back at it now, where should I have been? I should have been in chorus.
You should have been in chorus.
And I was with the same group of kids all day. The other kids were basically, had all different kinds of classes they were taking. You're being pinged.
I'm being pinged.
And they got to be with amongst all the other kids and various kids, and I was basically with the same group for like, from the beginning of the day till the end.
Yeah.
And not really friends with
with
any of them anymore.
For me, I enjoyed chorus because I love singing.
Yeah.
I enjoy performing.
Yeah, that's why I took it.
And, I joined up with the chorus in middle school, and I think I didn't do chorus in grade school because we had just moved from Brooklyn when I was in the last year and a half of grade school. So 6 and 7 were the 2 years that, 6th grade was the year that I spent here. 7th, 7th, I was still finding myself. I'm still the new kid. And then I think it was in 8th grade that I joined the chorus, and then 9th grade I was in chorus, and then I was just in chorus and show choir right up until I graduated. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I loved chorus.
I always enjoyed it.
And up until just recently, I was in the Long Island Gay Men's Chorus.
Yes, you were. I would love to be in the Long Island Gay Men's Chorus, but you can tell me the stories.
Yes.
Later.
Yeah. No, I have nothing bad to say about Long Island Gay Men's Chorus. It's just that it so happened that, this, career as a drag queen took over, and it just didn't rehearsal.
It wasn't
schedule,
conducive. The rehearsal schedule
and things like that just didn't work for me.
It's prioritizing what you want to do.
But I still help them out with cabarets and
events and gigs
things like that. So we still have a good relationship.
So the show
has to go on. Yes.
So Maude says before the finale is, Mr. Fishman, we should be that lucky.
Yes.
As saying about Arthur
getting mugged in the boys' room.
In the boys' room. So the final number is girls.
Girls, yes.
To the right of me. Girls to the left of me. And just, Vivian comes out as Miss Europe.
Yeah. Well,
because
Walter and Arthur
sort of as the
they're in tuxes.
It was almost sort of like Laugh-In, where you would have Dick, I think Dick Button, and oh God, who was the other one?
Oh, I don't remember.
Dick and oh my God, who were the hosts of Laugh-In?
Laugh-In? We're gonna look it up right now.
Please and thank you.
Laugh-In hosts. Laugh-In.
Rowan and Martin.
Rowan and Martin.
So Dan
Rowan and Dick Martin.
Dan Rowan and Dick Martin.
That's it.
They were the hosts of. They were the hosts of Laugh-In.
I loved Laugh-In.
I adored.
I remember that when I was watching that when I was a little kid.
Joanne Worley.
Yes.
Ruth Buzzy. Goldie
Gibson.
Hawn.
Yes.
Henry Kissinger.
Henry Kissinger.
You said Henry.
I did. Henry Gibson.
Henry Gibson.
Okay. Yes.
But I adore Joanne Worley.
Yes.
I love her so much. I fell in love with her when I saw her once on a game show, and I think it was Pyramid or some word game show where and the one that made me fall head over heels in love with her was the word was opera, and she immediately goes into this beautiful aria and just immediately just her comedic timing was everything.
My husband was on $25,000 Pyramid.
Get out of here.
Yes. And he was matched up with Lois Nettleton, who played Pat.
Yeah.
On the Golden Girls.
Yeah, on the Golden Girls.
The lesbian
who was in Rose.
Yes. Small world, right?
Small world indeed. Oh, that tickles me.
I'm sure it does.
That tickles me.
Oh, so they're doing this sort of Laugh-In musical number
about girls.
Yeah, Walter and Arthur are in their tuxes, and Vivian comes out as Miss Europe.
Vivian comes out as Miss Europe in the longen hood, the helmet with the horns, the cast iron brassiere, and this robe of European countries.
It's like the dress is made up of the flags of Europe.
It
was hideous.
Very gaudy.
It was hideous.
And she had on the braids.
Yes, she had on the braids, and she's doing a dance. And I think then Carol
comes out as Miss Asia.
Miss Asia.
Where she has on, I think, the long gold fingernails.
Yeah.
And she has on this really pointed hat.
Yes.
And again, she's in a brassiere and harem pants.
Yes.
And then for all you culture vultures out there, again, very cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Very, very cringeworthy. Because, not for anything, the sexualization of black people in the 70s was kind of rampant. And just not fun. It's wrong. It's all wrong. Because, not for anything, black people for the longest time, and even today, they're very fetishized.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they always say black women are very voluptuous and very curvy, and black men are, very muscular and macho, and they have very long members.
Well, I mean, just
basing it on stereotypes is what I'm doing.
I mean, addressing it from, like, the gay male perspective, we know, like, we see that in gay male culture.
Oh, we say that very much so.
How fetishized, black gay men are in the gay male culture.
There's actually, if you guys are interested, there is a person I suggest you follow on Instagram and TikTok. He goes by the Black Gay Comic Book Geek. I think so. And he's a very dear friend of mine. His name is Michael Simeone. And he makes an understanding of all of these things, and he constantly addresses these issues in the gay community, and he constantly is talking about them, and I love and adore him to pieces. But yeah, this is a real problem in the gay community, is that this fetishization of black men.
Yeah. It's very rampant.
Which again, that's
community.
exactly what culture vultures. And I mean, I don't like that allegory. Like, that metaphor really rubs me the wrong way. Because
now, what did they call when Florida comes out now?
Our African envoy.
That's what they called her. Okay.
Yes,
I
there was no Miss Africa. There was just here comes our African envoy.
Yes, and
she comes out and she does a very ethnic dance.
Yes,
which I think is the best way that I could describe.
I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah. So.
She does a very African dance, and it's not. I mean, it's.
Yes.
Just that part was very
cringy. Yes. Then we get to the queen.
There's
of
Novinism like chauvinism when it comes to favorite types.
Yes.
Here comes our queen of queens, and it is Maude as Miss Stars and Stripes. And she
the
comes.
The curtain opens up.
I mean,
right?
you want to know what's funny? I'll tell you what's funny. The costume that Maude wore wasn't what we know the Statue of Liberty's coloring to be. We know the Statue of Liberty's coloring to be green.
Yeah.
But when it was brought over from France, it was bronze. It was bronze. And I think the oxidization over the time,
that's what happens.
Because the colorization of Maude's outfit was very tan.
Yeah.
It was very tan, it was very pale. So I think like during the 70s, that was when there may or may not have been some type of shift in color. Like I would love for there to be a what's a word to use here? I would love for there to be a what are those things called? A time lapse. A time lapse of the color
showing
change.
the color change.
Showing the color change of the Statue of Liberty.
Time.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be interesting.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. So,
so she comes down and she starts tap dancing, and it's a very weird number.
Yes.
That is like this love letter to America.
Yeah, and she's giving Arthur the full-on
dirtiest
stare.
look.
Yes.
Because during the second chorus, like America, I love you, you're like a sweetheart of mine. I think during the second chorus of that, like Maude droops her arm down that's holding the flame.
The flame, yes.
And Arthur goes to the torch, goes to lift it up, and Maude is like, she wants to smack him with it.
She wants to bang him over the head with it. And at the very end of it, Philip comes out as Uncle Sam.
Our mother's dad's but there's 200 million others like me. And then Philip comes out as Uncle Sam and holds the flag out with one hand doing jazz hands, and then that's the end of it. That's the end of the
I guess
number.
we're supposed to take it that it was like in order for them to be able to do the whole rest of the show, Arthur forced them to do that number. I guess.
Honestly, that could have been the opening number. I think that's what it was. I think it was the open. I think that was the opening number that Arthur wrote.
Yeah. So I guess, because Maude was not thrilled doing that number.
Like, you saw in her
yeah.
Like, the curtain opened, and she's just
the
like...
look on her face. Yeah.
Well, I guess we gotta get through this.
Yeah. So I took it to be that, that was
none too pleased.
Yeah, she had to do that in order to do the whole rest of the show. And now the epilogue.
So the epilogue is Arthur starting singing the Siegfried line, and Carol comes, and you hear the number change, because you have Arthur doing the Siegfried line, and then you have Carol, like, to the drums doing this very, very aerobic dance, where she's, like, shaking her breasts and shaking her hips.
Well, the funny thing is, Arthur is downstage.
Arthur's downstage, Carol is upstage.
And Carol comes out, behind him, so he's totally unaware of Carol
dancing in the background.
Dance.
And the audience is going crazy for Carol.
For Carol, yes.
And then the camera, pans over to Arthur. The camera pans over to Maude, and she says, "When you're right, you're right."
Yeah, like.
And then Arthur says, "You want more? You want more?" Yeah. And the audience is screaming, "Yeah!" And then starts doing this song again, and Carol again just goes into her dance, and that's
her
how the episode
gyrations
ends.
And everything, and she went. She did a lot.
She went hard.
She went in ham on that dance. She really did.
There was also, when she turned to Arthur in the beginning of the episode, where she goes, "All right, Arthur, you want to see dancing? I'll show you the modern take."
Yeah.
And she goes, "You can meet me round the corner in a half an hour," and then thrusts her hips at him, and Arthur just goes, "Oh,
yeah,
oh my, how could I handle this?"
Yeah.
But I actually learned years ago. I want to say when I was reading an interview that Adrienne had, because I love Adrienne Barbeau. Mm-hmm. I've loved Adrienne Barbeau since I heard her voice Catwoman in the Batman cartoon during the 90s. And I found out that her and Conrad Bain had a very fatherly-daughterly relationship. And I always wondered what everyone's relationship to Bill was. I do think that it was very professional, but no one really ever talks about their relationship to Bill Macy.
I wonder why.
I don't know. But, I mean, Bill made his money on Maude, and then he really didn't do anything after that.
No.
They tried to have him be the Maude at the end of Maude, where Maude was the, I think, congresswoman or legislator. And the show lasted maybe a season, because it had the same cast as the series finale of Maude. It just didn't go anywhere. And then Bill, I think, either just retired or didn't do anything after that.
I don't know, we have to research. I'm wondering if he went back to doing stage
theater?
work.
Perhaps. Because I know that's what Pat Carroll did. And Pat, after Pat Carroll did Mermaid, after Pat Carroll voiced Ursula, she really didn't do much. Like, she did Nancy Drew. She did, one thing of Nancy Drew, and after that, she just did, voice work and theater work.
Yeah.
So,
So some people, they're there's not enough satisfaction in TV work.
It's funny. There are so many people. There are so many actors that I would love to read their autobiographies. I've read Mae West's autobiography. I've read Tallulah Bankhead's autobiography. I've read, oh God, why is the name escaping? Sophie Tucker. I've read Sophie Tucker's autobiography, and I just love reading the lives of famous people that it's in their words and it's in their experiences.
Yeah.
Just because I think it sort of brings you closer to the person, and it's like, yes, you're definitely going to get a very exaggerated version of their own story, but it's still their story that they're telling from their perspective.
Yeah, true.
I would have loved to have read B. Arthur's autobiography. I would have loved to, but, I don't know if her sons are ever going to publish that or what, but I know I want to read at some point Adrienne Barbeau's, but, yeah. We thank you for listening to another episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter. If you would like to follow this podcast, you can on all forms of podcast media, like Pandora, Spotify, Apple Radio, iHeartRadio.
Facebook Podcasts
now, yes. YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at God Will Get You for That, Walter. You can find us on YouTube at God Will Get You for That, Walter. You can find us on Instagram at Finley's Friendly Appliances. And if you want to follow me, you can at That Tomcat on all forms of social media, and you can find that at thattomcat.com. And where can they find you?
Oh, anywhere that's Toni Homeperm approved. And of course, that's
Toni with an R.
Yeah, that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all those delightful
platforms. And we thank you for listening, and you'll hear us again in another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
Good night.
Night, guys.